Hey guys, Becky here, FiveTwoBaker. Welcome back to my channel. So this week I've teamed up with a bunch of other wonderful YouTube bakers to create a bunch of different Valentine's Day ideas for you guys to decorate your cakes with, or at least be inspired by. And I love each of them so much. So I'm going to link all of them down below, and hopefully you get a chance to check them all out. I'm also super excited to share with you guys the technique that I'll be using today. A lot of other crafters already do that with paper. It's called Quilling, but I've never tried it on a cake, and I'm super excited to try it. I love the outcome, and I hope that you guys do too. So let's get right to it. So start off by grabbing your colored and conditioned wafer paper and cutting it into strips. Mine are 1/4-inch strips, and I'm using a ruler and a sharp scalpel to help give me an even and clean cut. That's super important for this. Once you have your strips, if you're like me and you left them out for too long and now they dried up, no problem. You just grab your wafer paper conditioner, you dab just a little bit on each, no color needed, and then just dab some cornstarch on it to take away the tackiness. Once they're ready, go ahead and start making shapes. The one that I use the most is just a roll, and there are quilling tools to help you do this faster, but I'm just using a sharp tool that I have. I make a bunch of little rolls. You can use a toothpick also, or anything else that you have that's slender and straight. And I just keep them rolled up by putting them in different flower cutters that I have. Another shape that I make are different shapes of flower petals, and I use these strips by wrapping them around the cutter and then just gluing the wafer paper to itself and setting it to the side to dry this way. Like I said, the circle shape is the shape that I use the most. So for this circle shape, I'm going to let it open up just enough to be about 1 inch wide and 1 inch tall. I glue it to itself, and then I grab all the little circles in it, I pull it towards one side, pinch it all down that way, and then I pinch the top as well, and I use this as a leaf shape. Using my wafer paper glue, I dab just a little bit so that all the circles stay towards the bottom, but you can have them float around too. Another easy shape are just little teardrops, and so you cut little strips and then you glue the ends to itself and leave it just like that. These will make super cute little daisies, or also little vines. That'll be super cute. The spirals I love. I use them for everything, so I just make a bunch of them in a bunch of different colors. As an example, here goes a flower petal shape that I made and is dried out, and this is how I'm using just little strips of rolled up wafer paper to add different shape within it. It looks super cute, very artsy, and you can have them go in different directions, or you could just do something totally different. Just like with the green leaf earlier, the spirals, you can also just pinch one end and then glue all the little circles down to that end, and you have a super pretty petal for another flower. I have a bunch of these that I put together, and that's basically all the shapes that I use. Most everything comes from twirling it around in a circle and pinching one end or the other. The next thing I'm going to do is cut out my XOXO letters. I printed this out and I found a very straightforward chunky font. I didn't want anything too complicated to cut out. I wanted the focus to be on the quilling. And I'm using a ruler to give me the straight shape, but also give me somewhere to put pressure with my fingers so that I don't put it on the fondant and don't end up making indents on the fondant. The other thing that I would recommend is roll out your fondant to whatever thickness you want and then leave it out for a while so that it hardens. If It's a little firmer. It's going to be much easier to cut everything out and handle it than if it's fresh. And I make my fondant at home. It's marshmallow fondant. So when it's fresh, it's super pliable and it's just not easy to work with when you're cutting things out. So keep that in mind too. It could just depend on the type of fondant that you're using. Once I have everything cut out, I place it on the top of my cake. And because I'm doing this on a cake top, I don't need to glue it right away. I just go ahead and set everything, make sure everything is lined up just the way I want it. And then I go ahead and glue on the letters. I'm using the same wafer paper glue that I used for all of my quilling, and it works just fine because fondant really just needs a little bit of moisture to get sugar all activated and stick to itself. And then comes the fun part of just arranging everything. Go ahead and play around with everything. I like to do that before I commit and actually glue it onto the cake, just so that I'm happy with the final outcome before it's too late, because taking this off will ruin your cake a bit and it could possibly tear the wafer paper. So just keep that in mind. You could also go ahead and print out the XOXO on paper ahead of time and then have your idea on paper before you place it on your cake. And once you're happy with everything, you go ahead and glue each piece down. What I do is I pick it up with some tweezers, dab a little bit of glue on the heavier part, so the parts where I pinched it, or on the vines, I'll put some on one end and then on the other, and I glue it down that way. The nice thing is that wafer paper is so light, it doesn't need a lot of glue to help it stick down. Just a little bit will hold its weight. And then you just enjoy your final outcome. It dries super quick, so it'll be ready really fast. And this is what the cake looks like in the end. I'm super happy with it and I love it so much. I'll definitely be doing it again. Alright guys, that was it. I hope you love it as much as I do. It can be a little bit time consuming, but it's totally worth it in my opinion. As always, if you have any questions, do drop them down below and I'll make sure to get back to you. If you found this tutorial to be helpful, do give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please do hit the subscribe button below. That would mean so much to me. And I will see you guys next week.